For 20 years, Dr. Elias Thorne was the black sheep of archaeology. While his peers were unearthing treasures in sun-drenched deserts and steamy jungles, Elias was staring into the abyss. He was a man obsessed with a single, radical idea that the greatest lost civilization wasn't buried under sand, but submerged under miles of water. Now, aboard the research vessel Nereus, floating above the mid-Atlantic ridge, his obsession was on its final leg. The pressure wasn't just 3 miles below in the crushing deep. It was a weight in his chest, a constant reminder that his funding and his career were about to run out. "It's just basalt and silt." "Elias," said Sarah, the lead technician, her voice laced with a familiar mix of pity and frustration. She pointed at the sonar screen. "The ridge is tectonically active. Anything that might have been here was swallowed by the Earth's mantle a million years ago." Elias leaned closer, his eyes fixed on a faint, almost imperceptible anomaly on the screen. It was a jagged line, but unlike the chaotic formations around it, it was clean. "The sonar doesn't lie, Sarah," he whispered, a tremor of excitement in his voice. "Nature doesn't build in right angles." That was enough. The decision was made. They would send down the Aegis I, a deep-sea submersible built like a fortress, designed to withstand pressures that would turn steel to dust. As the submersible began its lonely descent, the world of light and color vanished. The vibrant blue of the Atlantic bled into a bruised purple, and then into an absolute, unending black. This was the Midnight Zone, a realm untouched by the sun. The control room was silent. The only sound, the soft hum of the equipment and the rhythmic ping of the sonar. Elias held his breath, his knuckles white as he gripped the console. Hours melted away. Then, at a depth of 4,000 meters, the powerful lights of the Aegis I sliced through the darkness, illuminating the swirling silt on the ocean floor. And then it appeared, emerging from the gloom like a phantom. A monolithic pillar rose from the seabed. It was encrusted with millennia of marine life, yet its form was undeniable. It was geometric, man-made. This wasn't just a rock formation. It was a sentinel, a silent guardian of a forgotten world. The entire team fell silent, a collective gasp hanging in the air. This was it. This was the Echo. It wasn't a city of gold or a fantastical paradise from myth. It was a graveyard of impossible stone and sophisticated engineering that defied everything they knew about human history. With renewed purpose, they guided the Aegis I deeper into the newly discovered trench. What they found next shattered their understanding of geology itself. Sprawling before them was the Great Zagon, a massive plaza, 3 kilometers wide, perfectly etched into the seafloor. Intricate grooves crisscrossed its surface, glowing with a faint, ethereal light from a strange bioluminescent algae. "This shouldn't exist," Sarah whispered, her earlier skepticism replaced by sheer awe. "The tectonic plate movement here, it should have torn this to pieces, crushed it into nothing." Elias felt a dizzying sense of revelation. He finally understood. Atlantis wasn't just a lost island that sank beneath the waves. It was a global maritime empire of incredible ingenuity. They hadn't just built on the ocean floor. They had harnessed its power. They had used the geothermal energy from the mid-Atlantic ridge itself, engineering their city not just to exist, but to survive the planet's most violent geological forces. The submersible glided over the plaza, its lights revealing more wonders. They found statues, their faces eroded by thousands of years of salt water. But their eyes were made of a strange, translucent obsidian that seemed to glint in the darkness. As the Aegis I passed, it felt as though the statues were watching, their lifeless eyes tracking the intruder in their silent kingdom. The expedition, once a scientific endeavor, was quickly turning into something else. Something unsettling. The submersibles, audio sensors, designed to pick up the sounds of the deep, began registering a low-frequency hum. It wasn't the groan of tectonic plates or the whir of the ship's own machinery. It was rhythmic. It was patterned. It was mathematical. A sense of dread began to creep into the control room. They guided the Aegis I toward a central spire, a colossal structure that jutted from the city as heart, like a jagged tooth reaching for a surface it would never touch. As they drew closer, the submersible's cameras captured what Elias would later call the archives. They were massive crystalline slabs, arranged in a perfect circle. As the ROV's lights washed over them, a stunning phenomenon occurred. The crystals didn't just reflect the light, they absorbed it and projected holographic images into the dark water. The team stared, mesmerized, at the ghostly projections. Elias saw a world with a different sky, with constellations he didn't recognize. He witnessed a cataclysm, but it wasn't a flood or an earthquake. It was a cosmic impact, a celestial body striking the Earth and sending the planet's oceans into a world-ending surge. The images showed the people of this civilization. They weren't dying. They were retreating. They were adapting, moving deeper into the ocean's embrace, using their technology to create a new home in the abyss. The final discovery was the most profound and the most terrifying. The Aegis One navigated into the deepest chamber of the central spire. There, bathed in the submersible's light, were rows upon rows of pressurized pods, their surfaces gleaming with an otherworldly sheen. They were not artifacts. They were not empty. A cold dread washed over Elias. The rhythmic hum, the geothermal power, the impossible structures, it all clicked into place with horrifying clarity. The echo wasn't a memory. It was a heartbeat. This city wasn't a tomb. It was a massive, functioning life support system, powered by the very volcanic vents that science had assumed would have destroyed it. "We have to leave," Elias said, his voice trembling, breaking the spell in the control room. "We have to leave now. We aren't discovering a lost world. We are trespassing on a living one." The order was given. The Aegis One began its long, slow ascent back to the world of light. As the submersible pulled away, its cameras still pointing down into the darkness, something shifted in the silt far below. A massive, bioluminescent eye, larger than the submersible itself, opened in the gloom, watching its departure. The ocean remained silent, pulling its veil of darkness back over its ancient secrets. But for Elias Thorne and his crew, the world would never be the same. They knew the truth. History as we know it is a lie. The deep is not a grave. It's a cradle, and humanity is not alone. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to join us on our next expedition.